In this transformational conversation, I'm speaking with Billy Council about resiliency. And resiliency, I think, is actually the most important trait in our personal development journey. See, most people spend all their time trying to avoid messing up, but we're all going to mess up. So what really will determine whether you succeed or fail is your resiliency muscle. Can you build the muscle that will allow you to get back up when you fall? That's what we're going to break down in this conversation. Let me tell you, Billy gets riled up in the first few minutes and he's going to stir your soul like he did mine. Enjoy the conversation. Well, welcome to this episode of Transformational Conversations with Coaches. And you're going to love this man. This is my boy, Billy. We were talking about how to introduce him, and that's pretty much it, right? Like that's it. There's so much depth to this man, and I've grown to really not just appreciate him, but love him. And truly, I admire the way that he walks in the world and what he stands for. And the times that we've shared together, the times that he's checked me, the times that he's fought for me. It's just been an immense level of depth. So thank you, brother, for being here. I appreciate you. And if you don't mind, just, tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about who you are and what you're up to in the world.
Man, Sean, I just want to thank you so much for who you are. And I have to let everybody know, hey, he checked me a few times as well. That's not a one-way check. That's a two-way check valve. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, man, it's a pleasure to be on your podcast and on your show and in your presence. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity, man. It's always a pleasure to connect and have a conversation with you. But yeah, man, we were talking about titles. I was like, man, I ain't got no titles. I'm just your boy, Billy. I'm trying to show up and rock whoever life I can rock, right?
That's great.
Yeah, man. I just want to change life. I want to see people win, man. Like, for coaching and like one reason that got me into this was trying to understand how do I help people on a deeper level, and really help create change in their lives and help them win. Like that's at my core, right? Like,
yeah.
How do you help people win? How do I help myself win? How do I help other people win? Because in that, if I'm able to help build people and help them win, then I'm ultimately doing something to actually change the world. One heart, one mind, one conversation at a time, right? Because you don't ever know you never know who's in front of you and who they impact. So, that's why I think it's so important just to be there and level up your skill set and ability to hone in the craft of transforming people to who they really are, or helping them break out of shells so they can become and grow into who they've been called to be.
Right. Yeah, it's a pretty simple concept of, just help one person out at a time. And we hear different versions of that. But we don't, it's a lot of us just simply don't live that way, right? Like, because we're chasing the cars or the money or the status or whatever it is. And, I can certainly attest that is how you show up and how you live. How can I just help this person in front? So I want to get into this transformation. But I think we'll get there with the word that I want to start us out on. Like, I just want to start with a word and see where it goes.
Let's get it.
And that word is resiliency. As I think about you and what I know about your life, what I know about your work, and what I know about so many of our conversations that we've had, including just, the conversation that we had before we started recording this, there's something so valuable about resiliency that I think we either don't understand or we don't know how to tap into. And I think because of that, we miss out on a lot. We miss out on maybe certain things that could get us back up. I mean, that's essentially what the word is, right? How can you get back up after being knocked down? And so let's just dive into it, man. You tell me, like, what comes to your mind when you think of resiliency, about what it is or the value of it or how it's played out in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing I'll just say this. One thing I learned from you is understanding what people's verbiage means, right? Like, what do you mean when you say that word? And what I found so often is people have different definitions for a word. So I want to start with, what is it defined as, and what do we think that it is?
Perfect.
So resiliency is defined as, the number one definition is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, which is toughness, right? So the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. So, when I look at the definition and then I think about what it means to me, I almost start to stack those other words with resiliency, right? Where I will say I'm tenacious would be my go-to, and tenacious means the same as resiliency, but not necessarily, because resiliency is about your ability to recover.
Right.
Tenaciousness is how you go about going through something. So I think a lot of times it comes down to how often have you gone through something that cut you to your core and been able to work through it after it's been done. And for me, as a young man, I think I just got exposed to so many things and went through so much that became normal. So I feel like whenever I have pressure come against me now, it's almost like it's built into me. It's built in my core. Like, we don't quit because we don't have no safety net. Like, nobody coming to save us. Jesus already saved us. He gave you everything you need. So we rock bottom, kicked in the teeth. We ain't got nowhere but up.
Right.
Right? Like, if you took everything from me, I already had everything taken from me. I already been homeless. I've already been broke. I've already gone through so many things. What else can you do from me if I've already had the feeling of naked and afraid, right? Without protection. What else you got? I'm still standing. So for me, it's the thing that's created after you've come to the realization that this thing that hurts still didn't take me out. And when you understand that I'm still here, then you have something in you that got you staying alive, right? That allows you to plug into a certain type of fight. And there's certain situations that trigger it for different people, but everybody's got to fight for life. And it's only when you're tested, and it's only when you're stretched that trigger is hit. And I think so many people want to run, they want comfort zones, but it's only the thing outside of the comfort zone that allows you to tap into your real ability to be resilient. And then if you so choose, that resiliency becomes a way of life for you. It shows up in other things once you recognize I have it, right? But so many people, they've never been exposed to something that's caused them to touch it.
Man, you said a lot.
My bad, bro.
No, real.
You got me going on.
Real powerful. I mean, that's who you are. You open your mouth and deep stuff comes out.
Praise God. And all praise to the Most High, man.
What I appreciate about that, though, is that you just speak realness and you speak experience. You're not speaking theory, and you're not trying to connect dots. You're just speaking what you know. And I think resilience, I think most people would agree that resilience is a really powerful factor, right? The ability to get back up when times are tough. It's just nobody wants to go through the tough times, right? Yeah. Like we want comfortable resilience. We want the resilience muscle to be built without having to ever fall.
Come on.
And, the next time that happens will be the first time ever. And it clearly will never happen. But we spend so much time trying to keep ourselves inside the comfort zone, like you said, and we're undefeated. I mean, we're undefeated.
That's real.
The fact that we're still alive. We're undefeated.
Let's go, champ.
Man, how quick we are to forget that.
That's right.
We forget that all the things that we've ever experienced and all the things that we're afraid of experiencing again, we overcame.
That's right.
Because we're here. And so you made a statement. I don't know exactly how you said it towards the end there, but it's like we just haven't tapped into it, or we haven't experienced something that required us. If I heard what you were saying correctly, we haven't been exposed to a circumstance or a situation that required us to touch it, or maybe required us to need it to get back up. And so where I take that is that we're all, maybe not all, but most of us are way stronger than we think we are.
Absolutely.
Or way stronger than we have seen us to be. So what is it that either causes somebody to tap into the resiliency? I mean, is it surrender? Is it just by urgency? That's not the word I'm looking for, but necessity, right? You just have to. Is it a choice? Like, you know, what do you think we need to do to tap into it?
So I don't think it's it's I think resiliency isn't one of those things that can be conjured on demand. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't produce, today's gonna be a resilient day. I call resilience.
No, man, you just schedule it at 11:30.
Hey,
it's resiliency time.
Hey, like, man, I'm feeling some type. Let me text resilience to come through real quick. Hey, man.
On demand.
No, negative, sir. Negative. I don't think it worked that way, boss. You know.
Negative.
That's just facts, man. Like, I think so many times we want things to just come up and we can will them, and it takes like anything, it takes practice to be able to function in something. And I think a lot of times when you say, well, I just will it. Well, there's a development process in place, right? So I would start with what have you been running from? So you say, okay, how do I tap into resilience? You start with whatever's weak with you. I know nobody don't want to hear this. You want to talk to me. Go talk to somebody else. You don't want to talk to me because I'm about, hey, man, the Lord been dealing with me about, hey, man, all this stuff. So let's go there. Hey, sir. Hey, sir, what's weak with you? What is the thing you've been running from, sir? Young lady, that's where your resilience starts.
Here's what happened.
Yeah.
I heard you start the sentence, and then I was like, oh man, like this is gonna go somewhere, right? Like, yeah. I can't wait till it gets there. You just said, well, let's start with what's weak with you. I was like, oh, I guess we're there. And see, that's how Billy checks us right there. That's called a Billy check.
Let's go.
Oh man, the simplicity and the truth, bro, and the confrontation in that is just so short-circuiting. Like, let's just start there.
That's right. That's right. Because
so it's running from.
Because it's the ground that it grows. Listen to me, bro. It's the ground it grows, right? Like there's something called the acacia tree. Lord, you got me talking about. I'm gonna take y'all back to school, man.
All right, let's do it.
The acacia tree can be in seed form, but it can be in seed form for literally 100, 200, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And then produce. And it's only germinated. You know when it's germinated, Sean? This tree is only germinated when fire brushes over it. It's
Really?
germinated by fire, the acacia tree. And it's an important tree because it's the wood it's an important tree to me because it's the wood that the Lord told Moses to build the Ark of the Covenant out of, and then lay that over with gold. And I was like, man, why'd you choose this wood? Like, he don't just be doing stuff to be doing stuff. Right. There's purpose in everything. And it's because when you have something that's born out of fire, that's birthed in fire, there's what else can destroy it? Wow. The thing that usually destroys most of it is the thing that creates it. So you have to understand that he chose that wood because of the resiliency of it. It was born out of fire. So I'm going to use it to contain my fire. You're not trying to hit me today. Wow. So you need to understand that with the thing that you are, the thing that you running from, the thing that you weaken, the thing that you're struggling with, myself included, I'm preaching to myself, right? Yeah. Is the very thing that you'll find the real you in. The real you is waiting for fire to brush over you so that you can become the resilient, strong individual that you've been called to be, so that you can encase truth, power, ability. But that thing only comes out of the struggle. It only comes through the fire. And the earlier you do it, the better off and more seasoned you become, the stronger you become. But we're so weak when pressure hits that we end up falling and fumbling and just turning into ash. And the Lord's not done with you, right? Out of the ashes, he can burn something new or create something new. But at the same time, you don't have to do that. You can stand when everybody else is losing their head. But you got to ask yourself, what are you planted in? So let me tie this together for you, bro. When you understand that resiliency, the capacity, listen to me, not the ability, the capacity to recover quickly from a difficulty is the definition. The capacity. Everybody has a capacity to recover, but some people choose and will not to. You have the capacity, yeah, but you choose not to. So you end up burning up in a fire that you've been born to stand in. You're not trying to hit me today. Y'all not trying to hear me preach. Y'all don't want me to turn this on. Y'all don't want to deal with me because this is what I've really been wanting to get to. I'm going to tell you why. So you said, where do you find resiliency? Go ahead. Let's hit the switch. Man, in Romans 5, you'll find it, right? Because this is what helped me get through some of the hardest seasons of my life, man. Yeah. And this is when literally like I had nothing, bro. I was 4 months behind on my rent. Bro, I remember I had 65 cents to my name, Sean. I had 65 cents. I lost everything, bro. I put in 250 applications. I'm applying to Wiener Schnitzel, the gas station. Hey, they say you too educated, right? I went on interviews. They said, sir, you got a degree, this, that, and the third, your experience. I'm sorry, we can't. I couldn't even get a job at the gas station, man. 250 applications. I got nothing back, wow, right? And I'm struggling, man. I'm trying to figure out what to do. I got 65 cents this Sunday. I got to go preach. And I realize I'm on E, right? So I got a choice. I'm hungry too now. I got a choice in this situation. Do I buy a banana? I remember standing in the gas station and I'm like, ooh, that banana 50 cents. Do I put my 65 cents in my gas tank or do I buy this banana when I'm hungry? Wow. And I just remember, I'll never forget this moment, bro, because this thing pierced me to my core, bro. And I just remember standing there trying to figure out, like, what, Lord, what do you want me to do? Why am I in this situation for one? But what do I do? Why do I have to make this choice today? And then I just got gut checked. Hey, man, if you do what you know to do is right, I'll feed you, right? And I didn't really understand what that meant. But I was like, okay, you know what? Bump it. We got work to do. So this is what we built for. Let's put it in the tank, right? I'm riding on 65 cents, whatever. I'm riding around the city doing what I got to do, go to church. I go minister. I pull up at the jail. And I just remember when it being a humbling situation. I'm ministering to these men who are well sheltered, well fed, ain't got a care in the world. They doing what they got to do in a jail facility. They don't have to worry about anything. Yeah. But I'm out here struggling, bro, and I'm ministering to you when I feel like I have nothing. And I just remember it being one of the most powerful opportunities to speak in front of somebody that I've ever had, because something in me hit a new level of openness, right? Like there's some things you just can't produce unless you go there and you in it. When you have nothing else to give and you tap down into whatever's left in that reserve, that thing is where resiliency and power is birthed, right? And I'm not saying you have to go through all of that, but what I'm saying is it's only through it is only through tribulation that certain power is produced, right? It's almost like a diamond. It takes pressure and heat to produce something that we claim is valuable as a diamond. But nobody wants the pressure, nobody wants the heat, but it's out of that thing that is created. So I want to give you Romans 5, because this is what I taught on, and this is what helped me. And Romans 5:3 says, and not only that, but we also glory in tribulation, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance. And perseverance produces character. And character produces hope. Wow. Listen to me, Sean. Hope is a positive expectation. And what I found was it was only in the situation that I was in and coming through did it create something in me, a new level of character that allowed me to, that perseverance created that character, and that character is what now allowed me to function in a positive expectation. And you can't get it without the pressure. You can't get it without the fire. You can't get it without the feeling of, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You ain't got no choice but to praise in the middle of trouble, because that thing is what allows you to create the resilience and pull on the power of resilience to overcome the situation you face. Y'all ain't trying to hit me today.
Whew.
My bad, man.
No.
I just gotta give it to you how it come, baby. Hey,
that's how you. That's how you are. That's how you be. Tribulation creates the perseverance creates the character creates the hope.
That's right.
And man, it was so deep. And as you said, like, we don't want the pressure. We don't want to experience the things that are required to produce the trait.
That's right.
That we need to fulfill our purpose.
Come on, B.
So if we have this purpose and currently we don't have the capacity to fulfill that purpose, that the capacity needs to change. And in order for the capacity to change, we need to deal with these tribulations. We need to touch the fire, touch the heat, touch the pressure that we're so afraid to touch. But without that, we'll never be qualified to fulfill the purpose that I think we have inside of our DNA. And I think that, so this relates to two things are coming to me. Number one, we're so afraid to touch the fire. But number two, we're afraid to admit that we've been touched by the fire in the past.
That's right.
And so as long as we're afraid of the fire that's touched us in the past, then of course we're going to be afraid of touching the fire in the future. And so what do we need to do to reconcile or to acknowledge or to embrace or to recognize the lessons that we've learned from the fire that's burned us in the past? Does that make sense the way I'm asking?
It does. Absolutely.
And I think, so many of us are we think we're running from the dangers of the future. I think we're running from the damages of the past.
Absolutely.
And as long as we continue running from the damages of the past, we'll never have the capacity to confront the dangers of the future. And you said something so powerful. You just said, I was made for this.
Yeah. For such a time as this, brother. Hey man, for such a time as this, I'm built for the war. I don't care. We built for the war. You like so many. I was talking to a buddy of mine who's going through a whole lot right now, in a public court case, and I won't give the details of it. But long story short, like a lot of buckets stopping at his door, right?
Yeah.
And it was amazing to have the opportunity to speak to him in this season, right in the middle of his trouble. But you have to remember that whatever you are facing, you have the frame and the ability to deal with it and overcome it, right? Mm. And I think so often we say like, oh man, this is too heavy, I can't. Right. Hey man, you are anointed and appointed to deal with this trouble that's in front of us today, right? Mm-hmm. At any given moment. If it's come to your yard, you have the ability to deal with it, whether you want to recognize that or not. When it comes to past fires, it goes back to that choice, right? Do I want to live bound or do I want to live free? Mm. Do I want to live bound? And I think in the interview that we did, I gave the story about my father. But how do I say? How me say this? When you hold on to the fear of being burned from past interactions or past situations, and I've done it. I'm speaking to myself, so I know when I say this, I'm talking about stuff that I've experienced, right? And that things that I'm dealing with. But when you are afraid, listen to how I phrase this. When you are fearful, you're fearful of the feeling of being burned from past situations. You end up paralyzing your ability to walk in the reality of something new. Mm. And I think so often
before you go on, let's just try to recap that let's get it. Just to highlight it. So you're afraid of the feeling of the past
situation.
Burning.
That's right.
And because of that, we're afraid of how did you finish that?
You're paralyzed. You end up the fear of the feeling of the past. The reality of today is that's not here. Right? But you're afraid of what it might feel like because you felt that before.
Right. It's real.
So instead of walking into something new, you're paralyzed. And then negate the opportunity of a new reality because of a feeling.
Negate the opportunity of a new reality. So we essentially become, for whatever reason, incompetent is in my head.
Come on, let's talk it out.
We become incompetent for the confrontation, or incompetent for the embracing of whatever the situations are for this new reality. So the paralyzed word, I think, is really critical. Paralyzed from the fear of something, and because of that paralysis, we're not even open to reality. And what I would add to that is the new reality that is like chasing us down. I mean, it wants us to be there. It's knocking at the door, and our paralysis won't allow us to open it.
That's right.
And I think that is so critical to understand that there's an orchestra, or there's an orchestration that's already in motion.
Come on, brother.
Except for us blocking it, right? Except for us saying, no, I'm not ready for it. It's too much. It's too heavy. I still haven't gotten over that other thing that I got over because I'm here, right?
Talk to me, man.
The paralysis of the feeling of the thing that I survived, I don't think I can survive it again.
Come on, man. Wait. Hold on. Slow down. I want you to catch that. I don't know if y'all heard that. It's the feeling of the thing that you survived. Instead of using it to empower you, remembering that you survived it, right? So we glory in our tribulation. Instead of understanding and being glad that I grew from that thing And that thing created a new character in me. Instead of understanding that dynamic, we stay stuck in it.
Yeah. Instead of actually, so it's really just what are you going to focus on, right?
That's
so
right.
Instead of recognizing the resiliency that has already occurred because we survived it, we focus on the destruction, or we focus on the shame, or we focus on the reasons we can't do it again. And man, that's so powerful and profound and like almost scary, because what it means is we have, right? We have two choices, right?
Come on, man.
We have two choices. Whichever one you drink from will determine your next step. And how often we're just so determined to drink from the cup of victimhood and the cup of I can't.
That's right.
Damn.
It's the poison, bro. Man, I talked to some little kids. It was my first time talking to elementary school, right? So they're going, let me tell you this quick story. So we talking to, it's me and one of my mentors at work, man. Shout out to J.R. Torres. And we they asked us to come speak about on their drug awareness day. So we got first graders, second graders, third grade. I'm like, man, I've never talked to little kids before. How are we gonna tell them about drugs? How's this gonna work? Right? So we over there we doing a little clap and just trying to get their attention and round up. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I mean, how do I say this? So I said, okay, now I want y'all to imagine that you have been playing outside all day, you're tired, it's hot, and you come inside and your mom is there with a big glass of cold water. We out of juice, we out of Kool-Aid, right? But we got some water for you. You want that cold water, don't you? Oh, yeah. I want you to imagine that you're taking a sip of that cold water on this hot day, and it feels so good, doesn't it? Like, yeah. I said, okay. Now the next day, you come inside, it's hot, you've been playing all day, you had so much fun, and she gives you a friend gives you a cup of water and says, here you go. And before they hand it to you, they take a drop of poison and they drop it in the cup. Don't you still want this cup of water? It's still cold. It's still a hot day. Don't you want this water with a piece of poison in it? No. Why don't you want this water? It's poison. I said, not all of it, only a drop. Only a drop, right? And it clicked. And I was like, that drop is the poison of somebody talking negatively to you, somebody bullying you, somebody offering you a cigarette, somebody offering you a drink, somebody offering you something that is negative for your life. But one thing that I ended up focusing on is the poison. So we think drugs is just something you smoke or pop. But more than that, it's the thought that this is okay. So the poison that you have to not sip from is the thoughts that keep you defeated or keep you in a situation where you're constantly defeated, or the drops of other people, right? Wow. So you have two cups, but the reality is what's in them. One is fresh water, one has a drop. And if you sip it, man, what's the long-term effect of that seed or that thing playing in your body or in your mind?
Right, man.
And so often, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that's deep. And you know, to deliver that kind of message to first and second and third graders.
Hey, they wasn't ready. Hey, the teachers got it though. The teacher was like, hey man. I don't know if they got it or not. It was fun though. Cause they was like, I had one little girl, I was like, don't you want it? She was like, no.
The teachers got it.
Yeah.
Man, but that's, again, the simplicity of it, you know?
Absolutely, man. That's
and what is that poison? I think part of that poison is convenience.
Absolutely.
And familiarity. And sure. I've done it before, and people said I wasn't going to amount to anything, or I failed before. So it's just so much easier to keep drinking from that water. And I think it's also, easy to keep justifying it because it only has just one little drop.
That's
right?
right.
It's only one little drop of poison.
That's right.
And we don't even recognize what that turns into over the course of time.
That's right. Especially when you're thirsty. So that's what's important, right? So you gotta remember, like, so it comes only when you're thirsty. And when you're thirsty looks like when you're weak, or when you're under pressure, or when you're just looking for some relief, right? Those are the moments that you sip the Kool-Aid. That's the moments where you want a real sip of water. It's after you hot and you tired and you weary, right? It's when you weary mentally or emotionally that you start to sip it and enjoy it. That's what's key, B.
Yeah. That's man, that took it to another level. Yeah, when we're exhausted, when we're tempted, when we're not, like, we need to constantly make sure that we're drinking the unpoisoned water.
That's right, man. You need pure.
That's the only way you can keep from getting thirsty, right?
That's right.
Thirsty for the poison. So you mentioned that story with your dad. For people that didn't hear that,
Okay.
Go ahead and tell that if you don't mind.
Yeah, no worries. So a couple of years ago, probably about 2-3 years ago now, I got a call. So me and my dad had a rocky relationship. He actually, man, my man was a different breed, Mr. Bill Counsel. He was a one of a kind brother, man, love that dude. But I had a lot of struggle with my father. In and out of my life, really, he had a dream in his heart, man, to do things on an international scale, right? He saw himself as an international businessman, right? And he never quite was able to bring it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, he was a hustler. At the same time, my man was a hustler in DC. He would pull me into business meetings. He's always got a deal going or a product he's selling. But he was a car salesman. You know what I'm saying? Hey, my man was a seller, right?
Yeah.
But he never really understood. At the same time, he put our family at risk. You know what I mean? It was just him chasing the dream and not having stability, and thinking that he was better than everybody, to have a full-time job, and have consistency. He was always up and down. Long story short, when I was a ninth grader, when I was going into 10th grade, I got into some trouble. I'm giving you the whole background, so
Sure.
I'm gonna speed this up. I'm gonna give the fast version. But I got into some trouble. I got into this big fight, right? Man, ended up in the hospital, and it wasn't a few days later that my mom was like, if I keep you here, you're gonna die, bro. Like you either gonna catch a court case or you're gonna get killed. She was really afraid for my life at that time in my life at 16.
Yeah.
So she got with my uncle. My uncle said, hey, man, he can come down to Florida and play ball with me. So we were like, okay, we're going to do it. The day before I left, man, he pulled me in his car and he said, hey, man, I've been watching you, this, that, and the third. Like, I know you got a lot of stuff going on. And long story short, he was like, I want you to go to North Carolina with me. I'm like, bro, I'm going to Florida tomorrow. I just wanted to tell you, let you know. He was like, how you going to make this decision without me? And he called my mama name, right?
Yeah.
So I stole on him. I hit him in his face, and he beat my behind, boy. He beat my behind. We fought it out.
Right.
And I remember the words he said, he said, from this moment on, I disown you. You're not my son, right? I just remember what that did to me. So long story short, I go down to Florida, but at the same time, I have this insecurity about who I am as feeling like a fatherless child at this moment, right?
Yeah.
So I go through high school, I graduate, yada, yada, yada. I go to college. He comes in, he shows up at my high school graduation. That's a whole nother story. But I go to college, and my first week there, he shows up. And he's like, hey, man, I just want you to know I built this. He was in North Carolina. He went to North Carolina. And when he came back, he came and found me. He dropped this chest that he made. And then he was talking to me. He was like, I just want you to know, like, I know we've been through some things in the past. Long story short, I'm going to Africa tomorrow. So I just want to spend some time with you, let you know I love you, this, that, and the third. Yeah. So I was 18 at the time, right? I have not seen him until I brought his body back from Africa. So it's been from 18, I'm 33 as of today. I was 31 at the time. So I got a call in September. Long story short, they couldn't find him. My dad had not had contact with anybody for a while. So I go on this long hunt for about a month and a half trying to figure out where he is in Africa, right? I'm just doing all the digital investigation stuff I can do, reach out to the State Department. Long story short, he pops up in a morgue in Accra, Ghana. We find his body. I work with the State Department and a funeral guy over there. And we get his body packaged up, shipped back here to do his funeral. And man, just the whole process, that whole month, man, took everything in me for the man who said I disown you. Yeah. I had a choice to make, Sean, because I at this time I'm saved. I thought I had forgiven him. I felt like my heart was clear, my conscience was clear, because when he was alive, we talked maybe once or twice a year. And I would just pray for him, man. And I just got to a place, I was in a really good place spiritually, where I felt like I no longer had anything towards him. But having to deal with his death, man, where I felt like, why'd you leave me with this? Right? Like, you lived your whole life, man, and you left me to deal with your mess at the end of it with no guidance, with no wisdom, with no direction, right? Like, this is what you left me, bro. Yeah. You left me your mess, right? That's what you thought of me, is how I felt. And on top of that, the unresolved feeling of feeling inadequate as a man, right? Because it's just something that happens when a father is a father to a young boy. There's just a transaction that happens. And what we need as young men is direction and wisdom and a sense of who we can become. And without that, you struggle. So I struggled dealing with his whole death and doing all this work so much that I became embittered, man. But I had a choice to make. And the choice was, do I honor him in death like he never honored me in life? Right? Like, so like it was the Lord working it out the whole time, but I didn't know what it was until after. And mainly because it was, regardless of how he treated you, how are you going to live the rest of your life? And what choices will you make in spite of the ones that he made? Wow. So dealing with all of this, working through it, like, everything came to a head the day of his funeral. Early that morning, I woke up, and I just remember having this conversation with the Lord, man. And after I had to put the slideshow together, so I had all his old pictures. And man, the Lord just really just outlined all of his pictures chronologically. And he started to show me the different situations in his life, and the certain pictures would stick out. And he would just show, like, hey man, this is what he was dealing with there. This is what created that. Like, he just put his whole timeline of his life in order, and in the struggles that he had as a man. And when certain things came up for him that produced certain choices he made. And I just remember the Lord closing the book on him, and he just giving me this statement, and it just got still. And he just said, Billy, you're going to have to choose. Are you going to live free or die bound? Because the things that he did, the choices that he made, the bondages that he lived with, he carried to his casket. He carried to his death day. You're burying him today. Are you going to pick those up and be bound by them until yours? And it was clear as day, bro. Wow. I've only had a few conversations with the Lord like this, but he deals with me, but not like this. This was a very special moment. That's why it just resonates so clearly for me. Yeah. But I just remember, like, Lord, I don't want to die with another man's bondage. That's not for me to carry. And I had to choose, like, bro, who are you going to be today? Who you going to be today? Who, he gives us the choice, bro. That's the love of the Lord for me, man. Like, he says, hey, man, I call heaven and earth to record against you this day. Life or death, blessing or cursing. You get to choose that. I suggest you choose life. But man, the clarity of you gonna live free or you gonna die bound, son.
Yeah.
And that choice is completely yours. You can have it any way you call it. So what's that gonna be for you today? And I was so free, man. Like I was struggling for months with this. But that moment was like, okay, the clarity of it just put it in perspective and like, this is the battle flag. We live free and we not gonna die bound. So when I get feelings of insecurity when I see a child and his father, like, that's a thing for me, man. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, I don't have to carry the bondages of feeling like I never had one. Wow. Because it makes me appreciate the men who've come into my life and not have been my father, but have been father-like in the sharing of information and knowledge and support. And it's just like, it makes you so grateful for the trouble because I wouldn't recognize it. I wouldn't recognize the deficits in myself if I hadn't gone through that process.
Right.
Then I'll also say, like I'm so thankful my dad wasn't in my life because I got a chance to live with my uncle, who was amazing, man. And I've learned so much from him that's allowed me to be who I am. And, and the other thing the Lord was showing me, he was like, hey man, had you have been under his care, you would have been a hustler. You would have been a con artist. You would have been a liar. You would have been a taker in life. Wow. But because of that, I used it for your good and placed you under care that taught you a different value system so that you can live out the call for my life. Right. And, we were talking offline a little earlier. I told you about a conversation I had with a buddy of mine this past week. Yeah. And one thing he always talks about is the big picture. So often we get caught up on the situation at hand, or the little things, the feeling at hand, but we forget the big picture. And when you start to think big picture, you start to look at things differently and realize stuff matters and doesn't matter on a whole nother level, man. And I just think that understanding that regardless of the trauma, the big picture was to produce something out of it.
That's it right there. And very rarely do we recognize the big picture.
That's right.
The big picture was to produce something out of it.
Romans 5. The tribulation, that's why we glorify. So when somebody hate on you, when somebody talking about you, when something go wrong, thank you, Jesus. Hey, thank you for the trouble because you finna develop something in me through this. It's what comes out of it, right?
It's produced. And you know what? I don't know that I've ever had this thought to the degree that I have right now based on what you said. The tribulation will always produce what it is created to produce.
That's right.
The choice is whether we pick it up or not.
Come on.
So everything, like, we don't have to go back and go to all of the traumas and all the things that we wish were different in our life. We don't have to go back there and go through the learning. The lessons were already produced.
That's right.
It's the clear vision that I'm getting right now is like there are 2 suitcases packed, right?
Come on.
And they're set right on the floor. All you got to do is reach down and pick whichever handle you want to pick up.
Come on.
They're already packed from the scenario, from the trauma, from the pain, from everything that you went through. Each one of them has produced 2 suitcases.
That's right.
It's just that we get so good at picking up the one full of pain and picking up the one full of victim and picking up the one full of it's not fair and picking up the one full of I can't ever. We just get so good at picking up that one. But the lesson has already been produced and packaged. We just need to pick it up. And that changes things for me, right? Like that changes because it's already there. And I think so many of us are afraid of going back and having to re-experience things that were painful for us in the past. But the lesson is already produced.
That's right.
And then it's our choice, live free or live bound. And when you were telling that story, Billy, you had your hands in front of your face and you were talking about the bondage with your dad. And are you going to pick that back up?
Come on.
You know, like his bondage in his life was done in that moment unless you pick it up. And if you pick it up, then you can go ahead and live the rest of your life with another man's bondage. And what's clear to me based on what you said is everything that has hurt us in the past is because of another man's bondage.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Talk to me.
It's hot potato with pain. It's all human pain and suffering. Everything that produces that level of pain was born out of pain. And so how much longer are we going to continue picking up somebody else's pain and somebody else's bondage and somebody else's suffering and then just walking around with it as though it's ours instead of picking up the other prepackaged suitcase that was already produced, got the resiliency packaged up right in it, got all the lessons that we need for the next phase of our life, but we can always choose not to.
That's right.
That right there, we can always choose not to. And you just made the choice. Like, what if every single moment was just that simple? Are we going to choose bondage or are we going to choose free?
Yeah, man. That's real, bro. That's deep. Hey, that's fire. And let me when you saying it, all I can think about is what you gonna wear for the trip. So you gonna pick up the suitcase, but understand that's the outfit that you pick for the whole week. Right? And the trip is the rest of your life.
Right.
So you gonna wear that coat, you gonna wear that shirt, you gonna wear that painful drawers. You're gonna feel every inch of it because that's what you're picking to wear. And on another note, I think that's the whole race conversation, right? You picking up the bondage and the mentalities of somebody who sold you that suitcase.
Wow.
Somebody sold the suitcase, Sean, and said you gotta have this type of mentality, this set of values, this view of another person. Or a dehumanization of another person, right? And you're wearing that cloak. But when will you take off the old man? Man, Colossians 3 says, take off the old man and put on the new according to the new knowledge. Right? According to new knowledge. The new man has new knowledge. The old man has old knowledge. You have to decide, what suitcase will I take, but am I willing to wear these clothes for the rest of this trip? Or do I need to go back at the core and switch out the suitcase? And the suitcase in this metaphor is the heart. Yeah. Are you going to hold on to the old heart or the new one, baby?
And you need to take off the current clothes. You got to show up naked.
You got to you got to come. And that's the fear, right? Because you got so pride. I don't know if it was this one or the other one, but we talked about resiliency.
Yeah.
Once you show up naked and afraid and you deal with that and get free from that, do you understand the value of a new coat? And you have a new character because of the process of being naked. There's just something in you that clicks differently. Right? So
because of, yes.
But so many people run from that bearing it openly. They run from that feeling. But you started with, where do we get it from? That's what's weak with you. That's where you ain't trying to see me today. Hey, they don't want to hear me tonight.
Well, those clothes have been with us for so long. Absolutely. Right? Those beliefs, the traumas, all the tribulations, we've been holding on to them to the point where they've literally grown into our skin, and taking those off feels extremely painful.
It is.
Most of us. And so what we try to do is we just try to take the new clothes and put them over the old clothes, and hopefully the old clothes will dissolve, or at least nobody will be able to see the old clothes, and the new clothes don't fit over the old clothes.
Come on, Sean. You can't wear them both, baby.
You can't.
Come on, man. It don't fit. And that's what, Lord, help me to see this. That's the problem, is so many people are trying to fit in old clothes, in other people's old clothes.
Other
people's old clothes. You already got your own on. You trying to fit in other people's old clothes, and all y'all need to give it all up and get some new ones.
Because all the other people's old clothes, those do fit over yours. So you
come on, man. Hey, all day. They got the whole fall and winter collection.
Here, you've been bound by 20 years of your pain. Here, let me pick that up, and let me carry that
fit right on.
While,
absolutely.
Right? Like, let's just keep playing hot potato.
Come on, man.
Let's keep playing this relay race of pain.
Come on, man.
And I'll take yours and I'll put it onto mine, and all the while trying to figure out why life ain't fair. Maybe it comes down to the choices that we make. Which suitcase are we actually going to pick up? Damn, Billy.
Hey, man.
We were all Billy checked today. Billy checked.
Let's get it. Get it. Yeah, man.
Well, this time we can check a new set of luggage.
Let's get that new set. Let's go.
New set of luggage.
It's so necessary, Sean, man. Like, when you think about where we are in society, in the world right now, like, we're on the brink of massive disruption.
Yeah.
And it's coming, bro. No way, shape, or form. And people gonna have to really choose, man. Like, what side am I gonna be on in this new era? Right? Yeah. We're headed for a new era, right? Yeah. And that's just a fact. And it's time to really start looking at things truthfully, instead of just combing it over and chopping it up. So that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
And deciding what will you stand for. Because whatever you stand for, you better believe there's something or somebody who's going to try to knock you off of it. And until you really meet that fight, you don't know what you're made out of, right? And that's where I think resiliency is made for. Resiliency is made for those moments, those fights, those things that try to take you off of who you say you are and what you believe, bro.
Until you meet that fight, you don't actually know what you're made of.
You don't, man.
And man, we're so afraid of the fight. We're so afraid of the discomfort. And I think because of that, so many of us never actually learn what we're made of. So many of us are never actually introduced to ourselves.
That's right.
And that's a human tragedy. Listen, brother, we could go on
all day.
So many things, and we will. We will, right? We're gonna schedule many more. We'll just pick a word, and let's see what Billy can do with toothbrush.
I got you. Let's brush the hate out of your mouth. Let's get it.
All right.
Let's get it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's impossible to put into words. And I know everybody that listened, everybody that watched, let us know what really landed for you. What really landed for you. There were so many visuals, so many analogies, and the stories that you told. And man, you always just bring simple and sacred truth. And I appreciate you for slapping us in the face right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then just keeping it going for about an hour. What you running from?
Hey, it's all love, man. It's all love.
Yeah. We appreciate it.
Hey, Hey, I thank everybody for your time, for your attention. And Sean, I know we got to go. I just want to tell this one quick story. And this was my last, it was one of my last games playing college football at Fort Valley. And one of my coaches noticed something. He called me to the side. And he said, hey, Counsel. I was like, what's up, coach? He said, why are you scared, man? And I was like, man, what you mean, coach? I'm a vet. I'm a senior. You know, it's our last ball game.
Right.
He said, God, dog, I've been watching you all season. And you've been afraid to put your face in. He says, stop being afraid. Grab that man and put your daggone face in it. And I was like, wow, I've played 4 years of college ball. And I've been afraid this whole time to put my face in it. Wow. And this is what I found is from that drive to the rest of that game being my last college game, I've played like I never played before. Because somebody spoke they pointed out the thing I was afraid of. Wow. To put my face in it. And I realized that it was easier to go hard than it had been to play hard or to act like I was playing hard. It's easier to actually go hard than to play like you are or pretend like you are, right? So as I leave you today, whatever that thing is, man, for you, for somebody you may be noticing or dealing with, just know like, hey, man, you know, whatever that struggle is, you are resilient. You just got to give yourself the opportunity. So put your face in it.
Put your face in it.
Grab it and put your face in it and do the work. And you'll notice like there's so much more benefit on the other side of that.
That's everything, brother. Maybe that's what we'll pick up the next conversation.
Let's get it.
I appreciate you. I love you, man. And we'll talk soon.
Man, praise God. Love y'all. Take care.
Absolutely.
Now, if you like this video, check out that video that'll help you tap into your resiliency by dealing with everyday anxieties. One of the things that won't work is shame or punishment or irritation or anger. You can't crack the whip on yourself and expect your emotions to dissipate